Hey, it's Sunday, that time of the week again. I'm going to do another What I Sold on eBay. I'm going to show you a few items we sold. We'll talk about them a little bit, and I'll just add some little advice on what the items and how to find them and things like that while we're discussing them. But we're going to head on over to the screen, and we'll go from there.
Here's the first item. It's a Buffalo Bill Cody, Cody Road, Yellowstone Park, Railroad luggage label. I've had a couple of these before. They always sell very well. I think I ended up taking 25 on this. I've sold them anywhere from 20, say, to 34, 50 range, so I wasn't upset at all taking 25. I had it up for a little while. I think we've got like 45 cents in the listing this. It wasn't in perfect condition. It has a few marks, as you can see, some little minor wrinkles. This came from an estate sale. Literally, this is at one of the tables in the front, literally where you pay at, in one of those little boxes on the counter. That's literally where we look pretty much all the time. Always find something, even after people have looked through it. A lot of people just think it's a piece of paper and it's not worth anything. Let's go to the next item. I sold some buttons, all to the same person. These were up for, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months. I bought them at an antique mall on a card. I think I spent like $3 on the card or $4. And I got a whole bunch of these. There was maybe 60 buttons on there. I've probably got $150 or so back on my return for that investment. And you can see here I've sold 4 to the same person. I took $6 since they had bought before from me, and they've bought quite a few buttons. And so, you know, at this point I have nothing into these. I've already made $150. And I still have a few more buttons from that same card. I think they were all fruits, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Another one, $6. So $6 a piece. I got $24 I got back just from this one person, from this one purchase on these buttons. So they always sell. I'm actually going to do a video on just buttons and what to look for, because you see them everywhere. Even on clothing, you can cut them off. Sometimes the buttons are worth way more than the clothing you're buying itself. So if you're going to like the bins and, you know, Goodwill bins, or buying in bulk, or you see them at just junk stores, even if they're ripped up, sometimes the buttons I'll make a ton of money on, even from a blazer button. Buttons sell very well, jean buttons, blazer buttons. But that's it with buttons. And again, I will go over buttons in a specific video just on buttons soon. I see them all the time. I constantly make money off buttons. Military buttons can sell upwards of $4,000 for one little shirt button. That is no exaggeration. Please look it up if you doubt that. So, you know, this is what it is. Buttons sell very well. So I'm going to do a video, as I said, and we're going to show you how to distinguish military buttons by age, so you can tell the better ones, say, you know, 1870s and before. Civil War are really some of the higher dollar ones that always sell. And then down to the Revolutionary War, which you're just not going to see. I never see them. I've only had a few in my life that I've run into thrifting. Other than that, you'd have to buy them straight out from a dealer or a collector or something. But let's go on to the next item. Another button. Again, there was 4 of these I sold to the same person. These are circa 1870s or 80s, maybe even up into the 90s. These are figural buttons, literally stamped out die cut. Let's see, and the 4th one right here, again, $6 a piece, so, you know, $24 I got for these 4 little buttons. Again, they're only just over an inch big. Another one of these, and this is just put up here for an example. This one I actually sold for $24.50. It's been up for a while. I've been taking $10, $15, $20 a piece for these, but you can still sell them full price, you know, even after they've been up for a year. This one's been up for a year, but at most I've got 60 cents in the listing this, so, you know, who cares if it sits for a year and I still get $24. Even if I got $15, I've already paid for all of these with the first run of these that I listed. So I'll list some, I'll get my money back, and then, you know, whatever happens after that, who cares? Money's money. It's a constant, steady stream of these selling every week. Okay, the next item here, this is a Terra Sancta. It's like a religious group or organization. I'm sorry about the photo. The photo isn't so good on this one. But a lot of these religious organizations, you'll see like this cross setup pattern here, the main cross with the 4 on it, the 4 different crosses. That's specific to this organization. I always sell the stuff. It may sit for, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. but I took 30 bucks on it, so you know, who cares at that point? This was like a quarter item out of a bin, probably at a church sale. This kind of stuff will show up at a church sale before anywhere else. Let's see, the next item, again, records. I don't show a ton of records because they're all the same. This one's one that you'll run into occasionally. I haven't shown a lot of the 45s lately, so I thought I'd throw a few in here and there. They all look the same, and a lot of these you wouldn't know the artists anyway, but Rose Valentine, I took 70 bucks on this one. It went overseas, as most of these do. And it's a promo, so this is what you want to look for, white labels. It'll say plug slide, not for sale. It literally could say promo, it could say DJ. Anything along that line are usually good. And in like soul records, what you want to look for is the word "the" in the title. Like the Drifters is a common one, but the Valentines, for instance, that's another group. If it has the word "the" in it, that is usually a good sign on a soul record, at least to investigate it more, like the Temptations or the Soulbounders or the Strangers or the Challengers. The word "the" in the title usually indicates that it's like something better to look at. You want to look it up at least. Not everyone, but that'll help you a little bit, I would say. But again, I took 70 on this one. It was up for a little while, so you know, for that price, this was $1 record, $1 purchase. Most records, as I say, do pay $1. Even at the thrift stores, even at the flea markets, it's usually $1 or less wherever I seem to go. Garage sales, the same thing, or you can pick them up in huge, big bulk lots, and then get them down to less than a penny if you're lucky. So, you know, that's what I look for. Records all the time. Some jewelry, again, I sell jewelry, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, maybe on average one a day, every single day of the week. I guess that would probably be a close average on vintage jewelry. So it's worthwhile putting up, you know, we're doing 30, 40 pieces of jewelry a month. Every single month. In the winter months, they usually go up higher, so you know, sometimes 50 or 60 pieces of jewelry a month, which is about a two pieces of jewelry a day average for us. And this all figures into, you know, how we set up our business and do everything. Every single group or area that we sell in adds a certain percentage to our overall sales. And you can track those different areas to see if, you know, you don't have it priced correctly or if you're missing out somewhere, you know, by running, you know, spreadsheets of these to see what's going month to month, year to year, and you're making comparisons to see how well it's selling or not selling. Maybe you need to start switching the type of merchandise you're selling in a certain category, like, for instance, this costume jewelry. So anyway, let's go on to the next one. Magazine, again, this one was up for maybe, I don't know, 3 weeks or less. I literally showed this in one of my haul videos. Sold for my asking price, literally what I quoted, $14.50 I took off this. Let's see here. I don't show too much clothing, but some of the odder stuff that I do like and enjoy finding, I will show, I guess, because it's just an area that most people miss. Hip-hop and 90s fab, you know, funk clothing sells very well. I always liked the era. This one's kind of an oddball one. It's made to look like the person's wearing a jean jacket over like a t-shirt, but it's actually just a button-down shirt. The buttons are hidden, so it's really kind of hard to tell, but it's literally an optical illusion. The shirt is actually buttoned closed right now. Let's see here. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's a really interesting shirt. I took, I think, $35 for this, and then I got a few extra bucks in shipping costs. And I think it was like $1.99 or $2.99 at the thrift store. Again, on average, I don't like to get anything if I'm not going to make 30 bucks or more on clothing. And again, perfect example, any of the printed shirts with the weird patterns or optical or cartoon or anything like that, we usually get at least 30 bucks for it. Compare the comps, look them up yourself. Again, at most everything that I'm quoting you are prices that I know or literally here we've sold it for. So, and again, that's how we do our business. So 30 bucks or more is what it needs to be to make or to buy a shirt or a piece of clothing for us, just because of the space and the hassle, the possibility of returns, and the size issues and things like that. Next item. I took $200 on this card here. The offer was $150. I went back. He wanted to make sure it wasn't trimmed. And to the best of my knowledge, it's the same size as another one. It looks like it was actually just off-printed at some point. But this is a scarce card. It's for a circus sideshow performer. I believe there was some Ringling Brother ties at one point, but I couldn't confirm it. He's a Chinese gentleman, one of the tallest at the time on the planet. Rather interesting card. I think it says how tall he was on here somewhere. Maybe not. The Giant of Giants does not say his height. Well, anyway, the point is the gentleman was a circus, what they would call circus freak, sideshow show person. And these cards always sell. I think last year in December, we sold one that was actually missing a chunk. I took $75 for that one. One of the other comps I've seen on this one was like $225, and it looked a little better, and it was printed correctly. So I literally took $200 on this one. I felt that was a fair estimate considering what I sold one for and what one sold for. And I have another one of these available to sell now, and one in my own personal collection as well. These do show up, and I do hunt these down. If I see a collection with these in it, I usually spend extra money on it. But again, that's what I have. These show up literally. This is the size of a postcard, basically, and you will see these in postcard collections. Staged sales, circus collections. A lot of circus collectors will have these in their collections as well too. So you just have to look outside the box and not just think, where am I going to find a bunch of cards at? Think where people wouldn't think to look, like a circus collector's estate, a memorabilia collector's estate, an entertainment collector's estate, an advertising collector's estate, antique malls that have that kind of stuff, thrift stores in some occasions. Even garage sales. You might see some old pieces of paper at a garage sale, and they might not have these out. Ask. And they may turn them up because they didn't think they were worth anything, or they didn't know what to do with them, or, you know, you may offer them a price and they'll sell them even though they had no intention on selling them. It happens all the time. I'll always buy stuff that wasn't really for sale at some point. Next item. This one I took $100 for. It was up a little while. I think to put this up just before Christmas. Oh, I'll take that back. I put this up just after Christmas. It went in January, and that was the issue. I was late on putting it up, but I thought I could still squeeze it in there. So this was just a regular sale. I probably would have gotten maybe $145 had I put this up in November. Even maybe October might have been a little safer. Because even before Thanksgiving, people are buying paper items for the holidays, for displays. They'll put up stuff by Thanksgiving. So if they get something like this, they'll want to spend the dollar on it, you know, in October, and have it shipped and have a little bit of time to do whatever they're going to do to it. People will mount these, and they'll cut out wood on the back and make ornaments out of them and all kinds of things like that. I sell them all the time to crafters, these vintage items, and I sell them to Christmas collectors and things like that. I think this was stuck on a cover of something at one time. I believe. I could be wrong on that, but I got this from one of my pickers. He buys like box lots at estate sales, and he goes to auctions that I can't get to because they're too far away, and it's just not worth my time for the few items I might get. And he'll hold. This is one that I don't talk to very often, you know, maybe 3-4 times a month if I'm lucky. But that's just how long it takes him to get enough to make it worth my while. Otherwise, I'd be wasting a trip just to see a few items. And when I go to his house, there's 2 thrift stores too. So, and sometimes I can set it up where I'm going to maybe hit a garage sale or something on the way to kill as many birds with one stone as I can, so to speak. Let's move on. I talked about cutouts and print ads. Here's another example. I believe this was out of a newspaper, if I'm not mistaken. Literally a junk one I picked up at. I think this might even have come from an antique mall. It was a stack of just ripped up newspaper parts. And I cut this out. Anything on printing usually sells. This was from an actual engraved, steel and plate engraved original, and it was printed from there. I took $10 on it. It's been up for a little while. You can see it's our old style. I never use a colored background, the green in there anymore, and I have a nicer ruler, of course. But this is early. We had it up for a while. At this point, I was happy to just sell it. They do sell. I've been selling, 3-4 of these a week of the print ads lately. A little more than usual, it seems. As usually we're running 2 or 3 a week, and now it's 3 or 4, 4 or 5 even sometimes. Let's see here. Another oddball magazine. This is a local one from Standard Oil Company of Ohio. It's an employee magazine from 1941. I took $18.50 for it. This is another one of those that there's nothing to compare it to. And it doesn't matter what it's sold for before. It's what somebody's willing to pay for it now. And I only had this up. I think this has been up for like a month or so, maybe 5 weeks. So, $18.50, I'm fine. I threw a price out there. Who knows what they're really worth? I have no clue. And even if I did have a clue and what other ones might have sold for, the market changes, almost daily on oddball stuff. You have to have a Standard Oil Company collector who likes Ohio items and who's into paper. Most of the oil company collectors like the cans and the bottles and the carriers for the glass oil bottles and the actual physical stuff. This is just something they'd be setting on a shelf, or maybe they'd frame it. I don't know. This guy could be a clown collector and only bought it because of that. So who knows? But another example is sold well. I paid $1 for it, so $18.50 profit or $18.50 sale. I've got about 16 bucks after all said and done. The gentleman bought it. Of course, everybody pays their own postage, so he paid postage, and so I'm not out that either. This one here, I think this one went for 15 on this one. It's an early one. It has a little bit of a damage in one spot, paper lift, but other than that, it's a cute card. It wasn't up very long. Maybe I've got 40 cents or 45 cents in a listing it. Let's see here. Next one. This one I had up for 7 months. So, even at 5 cents, that's 35 cents. I paid a couple bucks for this, I think, at a estate sale. They didn't have a clue who this was. I instantly knew it was General Sherman. I've had this one before quite a few times. They turn up in old photo albums from like the 1890s even. You'll still see these old CDVs lurking around. And it's got a post stamp on the back and a tax stamp. He's got it written down. Somebody wrote 1870. This is actually 1860s, 65. Somebody even wrote Sherman, and they still didn't know who it was. So, I took 60, I think, I think it was 60 bucks, plus they paid shipping. Good item. This one wasn't up too long. I took 25, and again, on these items, who knows what it's worth. This is like, one of a kind. There's hundreds of different of these clowns. Anything over, say, 15 bucks is a good deal to sell it at. So I took 25. I was happy with it. It's a small item. It's not even 6 inches tall. It's unique. I always look for the clowns. This wasn't a scrapbook collector's garage sale / estate. Who knows where they got it? Who cares? I look at the ones that do the scrapbooking all the time because this kind of stuff turns up. This is a vintage original circa 1870s or 80s. You can tell if you've seen enough of these. The paper's right. Everything about this is Victorian. It is authentic. It's the right image. I've seen it before as well, too. It's in a couple of books on Circus Collectibles. So it's a decent piece. Next one. This one was up for just over a year, but I paid $1, maybe $2 for it at the most. It's been so long I'd have to look it up. But I sold this one for $22.50. And again, at this point, who cares? I've got almost nothing into it. I bought it in a huge lot of stuff from a collector even at an estate sale. So, 20 bucks, even if I paid $2, I think maybe at most, I'm still making like 15, 20 bucks maybe at most. Let's see, next one. This is an old stick pin. This came from a church sale, I believe. Yes, church sale was $2. I knew how old it was just by the era and the looks of it, the wash that was left on it. This is Art Nouveau. Very obviously, I took $30 and I think it was $32.50 shipped is what we settled on. So I was happy about that. Again, it wasn't up that long, so it's just a small stick pin. It would go into your lapel or something along that line. And like I said, I sell this kind of item constantly. Here's a nice trade card set. It's actually gilt all the way around in the background. It's kind of hard to tell from here, but the trees on the top right are all gilt. And there's gilt highlights throughout. The whole set's like that. You can kind of see better on this one here, I think. The gilt on it. Yeah, this one you can see it better. But it's a set of 4 of these. They're blank backs. They're probably like 1880s or 1890s, like note card kind of things that you would have bought in a little packet maybe. But I sold them for $24.50. That's the price I asked for them. They weren't up very long at all just by looking at the number on there. Next item. I'm only showing this one here. I don't want to show too many clothing just because this is a plain looking piece of clothing. It's just a button down shirt. But whenever you see this iridescent where it changes from blue to purple, almost every one of those is worth some money. It's usually a Grateful Dead shirt or a, I think it's a Tropic Center or something is the brand name shirt. But they're all these iridescents that they like multi-change color. I'm not really sure what you'd call it. But it's almost an iridescent purple. I literally put changing color. The second I saw the material, I knew, and sure enough, the tag was the GD, the Grateful Dead. They're not all worth money, but these oddball ones with the little logo on the sleeve, sometimes it has a bear, they usually sell very well. But they always sell very well. I got 25 bucks out of it. But we put it up for 45 initially. It'd been up for 6 or 7 months maybe. So at this time I just sold it out, and let's just move it on. Here's a poster stamp. This came out of a poster stamp collection. I got 7 or 8 of these out of the same one. Every one went for $34.50 or higher. This one I took best offer, $34.50 on it, paid immediately. And it was a gentleman who buys most every one of these I have. So these are one item, the bread poster stamps, the ones that say 5 cents a loaf. I buy them all the time. You can find these in like green stamp collections too, if you're familiar with that. Even say from the 40s down, some of these stamps are worth just as much money. So what you want to do is look for these in like box lots of like green stamp collection or ration stamp collections and things like that. These always turn up for us. I get a couple of these every single week, either from a picker or from myself running into them. And again, this is something I never would have thought about looking for in the past, and I would have never had any clue on where to even find these items until we ran into them one day, and then I started thinking outside the box based on where I found those at. So I'm not going to give you every single secret, but I can promise you that you can run into these items where you live, wherever you're at in the United States. These show up. I guarantee it. You're just not looking hard enough or in the right spot or asking enough questions. You may be asking the wrong questions. A lot of people who are dealers may not know what a poster stamp is. Ask for like green stamps or like coupon book stamps from the 40s and 50s or something. People mix these up with those all the time because they can't tell the difference in age. So they may see this as a 1940s or 50s, like greenback stamp kind of thing where you collect enough of these and each one's worth 5 cents, you can get a free loaf of bread or something like that. But these are actually from the 1890s. There's a book of these. I know what they're from. I know the era. I know the source of where some of these have come from. So, this is a legit item. This is that old, and it does show up in newer collections because people just aren't aware of that. Next one here, Cigar. This is a cigar box label. It was trimmed to the best of my knowledge. It's possible it wasn't. Some of these early ones, it's really hard to tell. It's got a wave to it, but it's all there. It's a square piece, even though it doesn't look that way in the image. I took 30 bucks on it. So at the most, we have 55 cents in a listing it and $1 or $2 in purchase probably, and it's probably long since been paid for. Most items, again, as I said, I'll buy a big lot of stuff. I'll sell some items and pay for the entire lot. So everything from that point on is just free money. But let's move on. 30 bucks, as I said. This one here I had for a little while. This came out of a postcard collection. That 2 p.m. is actually the time that this took place. It's a ticket to the Hall of the House of Representatives from 1903. This would have been a pass you would have had to have been given or bought in Washington, D.C. to get in there and watch the House of Representatives in action. I probably paid $1 or $2 for it. I literally took, I think, I took 25 on this. It had been up for a while. 25 was a huge profit at that price. Again, even at the $2, which is the max I would have paid for this. I almost never pay more at any of these sales more than $2 unless it's a real picture postcard or I 100% know it's going to sell for good money. And this is just a guess on this one, so $2 would be the max I paid. And let's go to the last item. This is a real picture postcard. It's a bird's eye view. I had a couple of these. Sometimes you're lucky enough when they're unused like this to run into a big chunk of these all at once. I think I have like 7 of these still left. I've been listing one at a time. until, you know, they sell, and then I'll list another one. Once that one sells, then I'll list another one. That way you're not flooding the market, and it just appears as an impression that there's not many of these available, because a lot of the real picture postcards, there's only one or two that show up any given point. Maybe even only one a year, maybe even only one every 2-3 years for some of these scarcer real picture postcards. Or maybe there's literally only one of those that was ever made, because you could buy a kit for a camera and you would take the picture and develop it at your home, and you'd have your real picture postcard right there of that object. Some people, you know, would actually, some companies of photographers would actually duplicate this for you, though. They'd take literally another picture of your picture, and then you'd have a negative if that was the case too. But some of these real picture postcards are one of a kind, and that's why they go for so much money. You'd literally buy a kit. I've seen the ads in the paper. I've had the ads before, and those ads even sell themselves as well too. And ad advertising for the camera kit to print your own real picture postcards. They're circa like 1905, 1910 era. These print ads, and they come from early magazines. You can find them in. So, but that's what we have here. That's the 30 items. I'm going to try to keep it to 25 or 30 items. I'm going to weed out most of the books, because books are books. You know, anybody can find the books, and you pretty much know what you're looking at, and show you more oddball items. As I said, the two pieces of clothing I showed you today were more for what to look for, because a lot of people don't talk about the hip-hop clothing from the 90s. I always look for it, and I almost always find a piece every single place I go. Maybe not more than one, but I at least find one, and that one item usually would pay for my whole trip if I find nothing more than that one hip-hop item. I may do a video just on those coming up soon, but I have always liked some of the music. Again, I've talked about Montel Jordan, This Is How We Do It. It always reminds me of that one song whenever I see the clothing, and those are just some good examples of it. The sweaters usually are what I see more of. The shirts are awesome when I see them. I love the jeans and the early hip-hop jean style too. They're actually in style these days. People who like the surfing and even the goth wear the same jeans basically that were the 90s hip-hop jeans. They've just styled them a little differently, and they're different color schemes, but other than that, either way, good item to look for. But that is what I have.
Well, there you go. That's what we sold. Gives you another little idea, some more items to look for. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something from it. Subscribe if you haven't, and tell a friend.